Hey everyone, I hope you're all having a fantastic day so far. I want to get straight to the point and I need you to focus. I need you to really focus in on what I'm going to be talking about today because I'm going to try to break down how you can really start pivoting into your portfolio career. Okay, rather than pursuing a career, you are creating a career. This is where the world is leading to right now. I know at least within the UK, at least 50% of people will have some sort of portfolio career by 2025. That's 50%. So if there's 77 million people within the UK, that's roughly, I can't do the quick maths, but you get it. It's like 38.5 million. See, I had to push myself. But the point being made is that you have the opportunity to create your career. But it comes down to what does that specifically look like? Now, I'm not saying I'm the most versed person within the world to talk about this specific topic. However, I am creating slash have a portfolio career. Now, what is a portfolio career? Essentially, it is a career path that you create that involves multiple different income streams or sources of income that support your lifestyle. But it's not just about the income. For me, it's more focused on the lifestyle that you're trying to create. That's the most important thing. So, again, I may not have the most lavish lifestyle, whatever it may be, but I know there's been progress over the last couple of years. And so you need to think to yourself, what sort of life do I want to create for myself? What does that specifically look like? Now, for many people, we've seen this as entrepreneurship or starting an online business or whatever it may be. And of course, this is a type of portfolio career, but this is not the only thing that you should be focusing on. Okay, this is not the only thing you should be focusing on. And, obviously, whilst I'm talking about this stuff, I want to bring up an article that I wrote which spoke about portfolio careers because I think it gives a really succinct sort of like overview in terms of the different types of portfolio career that pops up. And I think if I do that, then I can go into the different sort of like details in terms of how you can start this up. So let me just share my screen. So I'm going to obviously sort of like show you my article. So this is it. You can check it out for yourself. And you should be able to see this image here, okay? This image should be nice, big, and clear for you, okay? So essentially, you have this portfolio, these different types of portfolio careerists. So you have the career traditionalist. So the career traditionalist is somebody who is used to just climbing the corporate ladder, okay? They're climbing the corporate ladder and essentially, they don't know anything else. They may dream of other stuff, but really their focus is to become a director or their focus is to again become ultra rich in some fintech company or whatever it may be. They're just going step by step by step by step by step. That's what they're doing there. Then you've got the side hustler. So this person has bigger dreams. They may have more ambitions that are slightly, not via the same direction as this career traditionalist. So this person is maybe, I don't know, doing a bit of coaching on the side or possibly has a course or maybe does a bit of even. They're doing something to get in that money. They're about making this money. Do you get what I'm saying? And then you have the conservative contractor. So for those of you who've been watching my contractor videos, some of you fall into this space. You want to transition from the career traditionalist into the conservative contractor. Now, you'll notice that it's in a certain order. It doesn't have to necessarily be in this order, but this is typically what happens usually. There is this sort of like hierarchy that happens. And so the conservative contractor is somebody who exchanges their time for a day rate or weekly rate. And the difference is that they either get taxed as if they're an employee or they'll get taxed as if they're a business owner. Okay, it's slightly different. Now, conservative contractors include individuals like board members and people who do freelance work and all of that kind of stuff there. For the career traditionalist, I'm going to include management consultants, so who work for the Big Five and Co, as a career traditionalist. They are not the same as conservative contractors, although in terms of how they operate, they're very similar. Okay, because obviously those consultants are on the payroll. When I talk about an independent consultant, I'm talking about a contractor, okay, freelance contractor. So bear that in mind. Then you have the diversified personal brand. So this individual is essentially someone who is using their personal brand to draw in business opportunities, talks, all of this kind of stuff there. They may be an author, they may be a content creator, they may be somebody who again speaks, who does all of this different stuff because of their authentic nature. Okay, so authenticity drives this sort of like industry. Then you've got the entrepreneurial specialist. So essentially, this is somebody who is very niche in their field. They're really good at what they do and they don't budge, and they usually charge high ticket for what they're doing. It's as simple as that. Okay, so think of people who, are in sales or who are in leadership or people who are focusing on helping people lose weight or talk about a specific dietary requirement for specific types of people. These are entrepreneurial specialists. Okay, so it's more about the topic as opposed to the skill set. It could be the skill set. It really does vary. And then you got the respected investor. Now, this is somebody who has probably climbed the ladder of all of these things, or maybe, I don't want to say got lucky, but got lucky or, paved a certain path. And essentially, they're in a position now where they're able to invest not just in monetary assets, but also physical assets or digital assets. It doesn't really matter, but it's an asset they can heavily invest in. And I've put this at the end because for me personally, I believe there is nothing wrong with being a career traditionalist. There is nothing wrong with being a contractor. There's nothing wrong with being an investor. But if I was to do a sequence, that I would probably just start off working, gaining my skills X, Y, and Z, and then obviously use that information and knowledge or that pain and anger pent up and turn it into like really investing into a business, really investing into the personal brand space where I can use my authenticity and my knowledge and my skills to, again, generate income so I can then invest in other things. Okay. Some people may say they want to go from, nothing, so to speak, to the whole sort of business thing. That's totally up to you. I'm not saying I'm doing this by choice. Of course, if it wasn't by choice, I'll go straight to the business thing. But this is the position I'm in right now. So you have to think to yourself, what position are you in and where do you lie? Now, a lot of people may say they may do multiple of these different sort of like archetypes. And that's definitely true. But again, the more specialized and specific you are, the more concentrated your income becomes. And then you can start transitioning a bit of your time, your effort and money into these things. Let's say, for example, you are 70% a conservative contractor, but then the other 30% is focused on, being a side hustler, which eventually turns into a diversified personal brand. So these are things to bear in mind when it comes to, of course, your pursuits within this career. Okay. So again, if you want to check out this article, you definitely can. It's called Contractors, You Need to Build a Portfolio Career, but essentially this is for anyone. So let's really get into it. Let's talk about these different topics. So I've got my notes to guide me here. So the first thing is you need to have a sense of purpose. What do I mean by this? I say a sense of purpose because sometimes people don't really understand what their purpose is. They don't really know what it is. I mean, there is the Japanese concept of ikigai, which has come from Okinawa, Japan, which is really saying being happy for being busy. That's essentially what it means, okay? And really it's looking at ways to find the thing that fits you and doing that every day. That's essentially what it is. And so when it comes to your portfolio career, you need to find that thing that you can navigate towards in order for you to be effective, impactful, authentic, all of these different things that you want from your life. Have a sense of freedom. It lies in your sense of purpose. And the way I describe it is you find your sense of purpose through context. I know that doesn't sound like a glamorous answer, but context is key. Really, that means looking at your background and giving it meaning, okay? Looking at the situations that have been difficult and challenging or fulfilling and rewarding. These are all things that help you understand your sense of purpose. Is this idea of context, okay? So here are some ideas that I want to give you. So one's a bit sort of metaphysical, spiritual, and some of the rest are a bit more sort of like boom, 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 boom. So when it comes to sort of like your sense of purpose, the first thing I'd say is having a sense of identity. If I was to say, who are you? What would you say? What would you specifically say? It's a deep question. And it's a question that we have to try to answer, because if you don't answer this question effectively, then you may feel a sense of lack. And usually what people try to do is they try to say, oh, okay, I am a brother, I am a mother, I am a sister, I am this, X, Y, and Z, but essentially, is that all true? These are all parts of your sort of like characteristic. This doesn't necessarily determine who you are as a person. And so with that in mind, you need to think quite deeply. Like, who am I actually? Like, what does life commit to me? And so essentially, So I'm getting distracted here. Essentially, the way I see it is you are defined as this. You are more than you think you are, and you are more than your situation. That doesn't really sound like anything. It sounds like something that's all like pie in the sky and all this kind of stuff there. But the reality is, if you just commit your identity to I'm this, that, da 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 da, there's gaps because there's so much more within us. So you have to understand that you are more than your situation and you are more than you think you are. That should at least turn you on a certain way. That should generate a certain level of power inside of you so that you know that actually there is more for me to do. There's more for me to do. There's more for me to be. In fact, forget the doing part. There's more for me to be. And so this is having a picture in terms of how you want to express yourself in this physical reality right now. How do you want to be? What do you want to be known for? How do you want to feel? How do you want to think? All of these different things. And of course, I would encourage you to, again, journal and free write and write about this stuff because, again, this invigorates the soul and the spirit. You need to do things that are giving you life, okay? If we think about the word sort of like vita, okay, or viva or animus, it means to be animated, energetic, infused, all of these things. This is what life is about. And so really get to terms with what your true identity is, connecting with that sense of spirit. The second thing is your upbringing, okay? So how are you brought up? So, you know, who are your parents? Who are your parents' parents? Culturally, where are they from? What are some of the historical context behind your upbringing? How were you brought up? Did you have a loving childhood? Did you have an abusive childhood? Was it a challenging one? Was it an instructive one? Was it an intellectual one? Like, what was it? Where did you grow up? What were the demographics like? All of this stuff shapes you as a person. It makes you unique, okay? And this sort of like mosaic of your experiences and makeup has a real sort of clue behind what sort of purpose you have, okay? Your sense of purpose you have, who you should be serving or what you could be doing. There's going to be meaning attached to that stuff because there's going to be stuff that nobody else understands but you. So this is really important stuff. The next thing is hallmark experiences or events. So essentially, okay, when thinking about hallmark events, these are things that have impacted your life, okay? This could have been a fear of loss. This could have been a breakup. This could have been a level of burnout. This could have been a rejection. This could have been a big failure. This could have been any of those things. What hallmark experiences come to mind? And the reason I was getting distracted before is because I have a book, okay? I have 4 books, in fact. So this is my book, Understand, Reach, Expand, 15 Super Effective Ways to Manage Your Mind, okay? There's a whole bunch of other books that I have, but the reason I'm mentioning this book is because essentially this book gives you an exercise in terms of how you can do that exercise I just spoke about in terms of the hallmark experiences. It's called the Experience Magnifier. So you can check it out for yourself. You can check out these other books as well. I think these are the Kindle editions, but there are hardbacks as well. So check those things out. But moving on, like you have to get a sense of what your hallmark experiences are, because what you can do from that is then you can essentially, you know, write out what you learned from those experiences and break down your sense of values. Now, values are a big thing. For me, I talk about values all the time, and values are the things that you deem as important. And these values are things that determine your decision making in your life, and your decision making determines your sense of direction, and your sense of direction determines your destination, and your destination determines your destiny. There's a lot of these going on there. No pun intended. The point I'm making is that values are extremely important. I'm attached to this idea of authenticity, okay? Authenticity broken down into 3 things. You know, authentic living, making sure that you are not influenced by external influences all the time, and making sure that you don't alienate yourself. Understanding that stuff and being yourself, having the right level of self-monitoring in social situations enables you to be yourself. And the issue is a lot of us are not being ourselves, hence why we're not fulfilling ourselves within a portfolio career path. That's essentially what's happening. You need to get to a point where you just feel yourself. I'm not going to lie, I'm feeling hot in this. So I'm going to take off this button. But point being made is get connected to the integral part of you that's aligned to your higher self. There is a higher version of you. I'm not trying to make this hocus pocusy, but you have to believe there's a higher version of you. There's you and there's that other version. All those different possibilities that could happen in the future, you can manifest them here, okay? this is still the first part because I'm going to get into the nuts and bolts. So stay with me. You have to stay focused with this. Otherwise, if you get distracted, if you start, scrolling on Insta, whatever it may be, you're not going to catch the gems. You have to catch the gems here. So stay with me, stay focused, and just listen up. The next thing is natural gifts. Okay, so what sort of natural gifts do you have? Okay, are you naturally somebody who is a planner or very strategic? Are you naturally someone who is more sort of like dominant and makes clear decisions? Are you naturally somebody who is a bit more social by nature? Are you naturally someone who is a caregiver and a lover, so to speak? I'm using the whole disc profiling sort of thing to help you here. If you don't know what disc profiling is, it's basically a way to determine certain leadership characteristic traits. So you can check it out for yourself. So think about what your natural skills are, because that may give you an idea in terms of where you need to be moving towards. You also need to be thinking about your core skills. Okay, so what core skills do you have? Okay, are you a quick thinker? Are you a fast reader? Are you somebody who is able to have a really good coaching, mentoring style? Are you somebody who is very good at breaking things down and summarizing processes? Are you a person who is quite vocal and jovial? Are you somebody who entertains and makes other people laugh or smile? What are your core skills, so to speak? And I want to make this clear, okay? I say natural, quote unquote, but really skills are something that can be developed. If anything, skills are the number one equalizer when it comes to progressing in life, like truly effectively progressing in life. It is skills. So sharpen a saw with those skills. I think it was Abraham Lincoln, and I'm paraphrasing here, who basically said, give me 6 hours to sharpen an axe and I'll cut down a tree in one hit. That's effectively what he's saying. So sharpen that saw. They talk about that in 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen Covey as well. Great book if you want to improve your productivity or sense of, just organizing things. But anyway, that's besides the point. The last thing to help you solidify your sense of purpose is understanding, how do you solve problems? Or what sort of problems do you like to solve? What are you interested in? What are you curious about? Okay, this sense of curiosity is key. I mean, they talk about this in the book Mastery. I've forgotten the guy's name, but essentially in the book Mastery, they're essentially saying, you have to have this sense of curiosity that leads you to observing other people and learning how the game works and all that kind of stuff there. If you don't have that desire to learn, it's not going to happen. It's just not going to happen. So that sense of curiosity needs to be key, and you need to understand how you solve problems. Are you the sort of person who is, again, somebody who is more pragmatic by nature? Are you more of a theorist? Are you somebody who is a bit more practical? What do you do? How do you solve problems? And again, you can check out the learning cycle, which talks about this in a bit more detail. There are 4 key ways that we sort of learn, so to speak. Okay, so you've got that idea now. You can use all of that stuff to give you a sense of what your purpose is. And you know what? Sometimes, this is the last point in this sort of section. Sometimes it may be a point to do some personality tests, okay? Whether you're into the whole astrology thing or numerology thing, and I'm not talking about just the suns, but I'm talking about the whole natal stuff, or if you're into stuff like 16 personalities or Myers-Briggs or the Big Five or disc profiling, okay? Whatever it may be, maybe it's about taking those things and seeing what the common themes are and then deciding, do I agree with this? Do I not agree with this? How do I feel about all of this stuff? That's what I did before. It really helped. I'm not going to lie to you. It really helped. It gave me a sense of, okay, this sounds like me. No, this doesn't sound like me. It doesn't really matter what you believe. Whether you believe in the stars or whether you don't believe in the stars, the point being made, you're using these things as tools to help you understand your sense of self. You can't understand your full self. You never will. You never will. But you'll get closer to it, and that will be propagated or triggered or sort of known through a sensation. You get that feeling, oh yeah, this is me. This is what I enjoy doing. If you know what you is, okay, think about things that you really love and really give you joy, or think about things that you really hate and you really despise. You may not know the answers to that intuitively right now, but when you're exposed to those things, yep, I'm not on it. If I ask you to describe your sort of your perfect friend, so to speak, what would you say? What would be the characteristics? So all of these things give you a direction and sense in terms of what your values are. Okay. So hopefully that's given you a sense. So that's the first bit. Define your sense of purpose. The second thing is you have to be able to dive deep into your interests. Okay. So what I would personally do is dive deep. Okay, dive really deep into people who have dedicated their lives into your chosen topic based on the information that you gathered from the beginning. Okay, now of course I didn't put in sort of like your experiences from work and all that kind of stuff there, but I don't know if that relates to your sense of purpose. That's just stuff that you've fallen into. It may do, it may give you some clues, but you want to dive deep into works of these thought leaders, these authors, these whatever it may be, and typically see, what they're talking about. Sometimes the best thing to do is to check out their videos online. Okay, and I'm not talking about any old video. I'm talking about feature long videos where they're really talking about their philosophy, and they're really talking about what they believe, and they're really talking about how they learned certain things. There's usually a couple of those longer featured videos. We can check that stuff out, and I'll do that for a string of different people. Sometimes another strategy you could utilize is to sign up to, let's say for example, podcast sort of like YouTube videos like Impact Theory or Before Real, London Real, or we also have the Diary of the CEO, or there's a few others here and there that are floating about. I think Lewis Howe's sort of like podcast. All of these different things have really smart people categorized into different themes. Okay, different themes, centered around mastery, hence my name, my business name. And these people will give you insights into their world. So sometimes that's what you need to do. And you'll see they'll repeat the same thing again and again and again and again. And all you need to do is either use something like Glasp, which is a Chrome plugin, to summarize this stuff from YouTube, or to summarize it yourself as you listen to this stuff. Okay, so really dive deep into this stuff. Sometimes you can even check out TED Talks and write some notes, because what you're trying to do here is not only assimilate this information, record this information, and also at some point share it. You may decide to want to record this information via sharing it on places like Twitter or LinkedIn, or via video. It's totally up to you how you want to do it, but you need to do it in a way that is sensible, okay, and practical for you. Some people want to be more robust and systematic. That's usually my approach. Sometimes other people want to be a bit more sporadic. I kind of balance between the two, but I sort of ear towards the systematic, because I know I'm going to need to use this information, much longer in the future. And I'm thinking long term in terms of how I approach things. And so that's that. So dive deep into your interest. The second part to that is, don't be afraid to read hallmark books or papers or documents or whatever it may be. What do I mean? So a lot of people don't like reading. The reason why I've had what I think is success within the contracting space, or possibly within the public sector space, or whatever it may be, is because I'm not afraid to read. I'm just not. I hate it, don't get me wrong. Sometimes I hate reading. Sometimes I love it, okay? I'm not going to pretend like, oh yeah, I love reading. I've read a lot of books in my lifetime, over 300 plus books, okay? And this does include, I want to put a caveat on there, this does include audio as well. So it's probably about 150 to 200 I've read, the rest audio. But the point I'm making is, within a work setting, within a certain industry, within a certain niche, it's best that you read these bigger, bolder books. And of course, you're going to have more hunger and desire to read this stuff because you're naturally interested in it. You're naturally invested in it. So you need to find a way to consume content of these bigger books. This could be via Kindle. This could be via, sort of like audio, or you can actually read the books. And usually at times, these can be university textbooks. I know it sounds crazy. Like, why would I do all of that stuff? But here's my point. If you want to stand out, okay, you can just copy everyone else. You can sort of like, just extract from other people who've done the hard work. But for you to get an appreciation and deeper knowledge of it, sometimes you just need to dive deep and read one or two bigger books. Sometimes 1, 2, or 3, and that's about it. You've pretty much covered all aspects of it. It's all sort of like in there. Rather than making up the theory, you know what the theory is, and you're practicing the theory. You're putting the theory into practice, and that's what the change is going to be, because you have to show that relatability. You have to show that, again, you've been able to put this into practice. That's why it's useful. Okay, so don't be afraid to read that stuff. Be different, man. Trust me. It will work out for you in the long run, but you just need to put in hours initially to read one, two, or three, because usually these books are timeless, in many instances, depending on what niche you're in. The next thing from this, from the whole dive deep into your interest bit, is to make sure that you summarize your notes. Okay, so for those of you who don't know, you can use something like Notion. Okay, Notion is nice and easy to use. It's not difficult. Notion allows you to organize your thoughts a certain way. And typically what I do is, I would use the Notion Clipper tool when I go onto Amazon and purchase a book. That adds into sort of like a back-end Notion database that I have. And then once I've done that, I'll just use that on my phone and start writing notes. There may be easier ways to do it, but I don't really care. That's what works for me. That works for me. And most of my notes are ultra organized. Okay. I'm talking about like like a bit sort of like crazy organized, to the point where there's toggles and there's sections and all this kind of stuff there. The reason I do it like that is because I want to be in a position where I can easily just access information. I'm thinking about my future kids, so to speak. That's what I'm thinking about. So let me just give you an example so you can see for yourself. So if I share this, if you can see my screen, I'll call this the vault. I've got all these different things here, and you can see, like, here are some different books that I've read. Some of them don't have the the pictures and everything else. And it takes long sometimes to load. There's loads of books in here, okay? It's not every single book, but there's loads of books in here. And you'll see I've broken down the information, and I've also organized some other stuff in here as well. It's all in one database. That's pretty much how I've done it. So you need to think to yourself, what is the most effective way for you to actually sort of like move into this space of systemization, organization of information, and all of that kind of stuff there. And look, if you're interested in making sure that you're ultra organized just in general, like I've got this whole life navigation system that you can check out. So if you want to check it out, just click on the link below. I'm not afraid to do it or any of that stuff there. If you think it's useful, click it, buy it, don't waste time. If you don't, let's keep it moving. It's that simple. So that's all you need to do when it comes to diving deep into your interests, okay? Think about those three main key things. The next thing I want to move into in terms of a section is sharpen your skills, okay? So essentially, this is making sure that you take programs or courses that enable you to just be really good at what you're doing. That's effectively what it is. You have to make a decision in terms of whether you want to do something that's accredited or unaccredited, and that depends on the thing that you're trying to do. So for example, for me, I have different acquired skills within program management and change management. Okay, and I'll show you on my LinkedIn as well. If you haven't got my LinkedIn, feel free to connect with me. I'm happy for people to connect or follow or whatever it may be. So think about different core skills that you can start to develop. Now, I'm not necessarily talking about a Udemy sort of like course, although I'm not knocking Udemy. I'm just saying it really does depend. So let me just share my screen so you can see for yourself. So this is the big screen. So these are some things that I have. It's nothing like crazy or special. I mean, this is like a proper accredited course. This is also a proper accredited course. This was an accredited course. This was really good. This is some stuff I did at work before. This is something I did independently. This is proper accredited. So is this, so is this. And this is a membership, and this is a membership as well. So again, that's what helps me stand out. When it comes to the contracting stuff, I know, for example, this and where is it? MSP. And this is really useful. I know when it comes to my coaching stuff, this is very useful, okay? This is also very useful. These things are all very useful for me because I understand what is required for my portfolio career, because you can start to see that I'm shaping something here. My portfolio career is definitely around personal transformation, helping people with life management and their portfolio careers, but also I'm pretty strategic. I understand how to break down processes and implement them to help improve people's lives. I'm naturally a people person. All of this stuff is telling me this stuff, and you haven't watched my original video before, which I did, I think 2 days ago or so, where I talk about, how to get into contracting. And the beginning of that, for at least half an hour of that, I talk about my life. So that gives you an idea of what my sense of purpose is, okay? So think about different acquired skills that you can get that can help you within this space. this is going to be really important because these skills don't have to be for a program or course. This could be through practice. Okay, if you're trying to be the next best thing when it comes to taking images and stuff on your phone, then literally, you can use your phone here and practice. If it comes to YouTube videos, you just need to press record and start talking. If you haven't noticed already, more and more people are moving towards the authentic sort of like way of talking on YouTube. So that's even better for you because it means you can just be yourself. No one's naturally a speaker, so to speak. No pun intended. But I remember something that Les Brown said to me before when I went to see him in London. I think it was in 2015, and he said, "Speakers speak. Full stop." That's 2 words. Speakers speak. I thought, damn. So coaches coach. Runners run. It's all this it's clear. The answer is in the word. So if you want to get better at something and get that acquired skill, you can do an accredited or unaccredited program, or you can practice and hone the art, and through evidence of your expression or results of these things, the outcomes will speak for themselves. It will speak for itself, okay? And so moving on from sharpened skills, you want to move into sharing your knowledge, because once you start to develop these skills, it makes sense to share them. Now, you don't have to be excellent or even great or even good for that matter in order for you to start sharing your knowledge, okay? And the knowledge should be purely based on the things you've learned. You think I've been able to say all of this stuff because, I don't know, I'm an expert in this stuff. Okay, to some degree, I may be one step ahead potentially, in front of you, or maybe 2 steps, or maybe I'm -1, who knows? But there may be something in this that is giving you the confidence to know what to do moving forward. The point I'm making is, this is from my experiences. These are my lessons. They're not anyone else's lessons. Literally all I've done is type this out on Word, and I'll give you an example so you can see for yourself. I don't want to fluff my words or whatever it may be, yeah? Essentially, all I've done is, and I'll share my screen. So if you can see this, let me make this less bigger because it looks like I've got issues. But as you can see, I've just typed this out. That's all I've done. I've just typed this out, literally did this today. I was like thinking to myself, okay, cool. What is required in order for me to start talking about this stuff? And obviously I'm not showing the rest because I want to make sure that I continue so you don't know what's happening. The point being made is I just typed this just before this video. That's all I've done. And so the point I'm trying to make to you is that when it comes to sharing your knowledge and your experience, literally make it a habit. Make it a habit. I say this to say, let's say, for example, you are on LinkedIn. What you could do is think about your lessons for the day, think about something that happened in a day, and just share it. Of course, there is a way to do it. Okay, so if you have a bit of copyright knowledge, you'll understand that, you want to make sure that you've got 1 line per paragraph or 2 lines at most per paragraph. You want to add a few emojis here and there. You want to start with something that is captivating, that draws in the attention. You want to talk about, I think I got this from Alex Hormozy, rather than talking about how they should do something and telling them what to do, you should focus on what you've learned and say, I have learned that I failed at, I did, whatever. Say I. It's better. It changes the perspective because people feel like they can relate to you. If you're watching this, possibly you're somebody who's just fed up or they're 9 to 5 and they're just like, I need to get out. It's not even cost of living. I've been in the dunya. Do you know what I mean? It's been mad. Or I'm in a situation where I feel like I really want people to know who I am. I really want to share this knowledge. I really want to have this sense of freedom. I really want to live my purpose. I want to do all these things. If you are that person, this video is for you. And this is another sort of message to stay focused. Stay focused. Don't lose track. You have to stay focused. Follow one course until successful. That's it. There's nothing else to it. And so when thinking about all of this stuff, just share your knowledge, man. Choose a platform that you like, okay? And share it. Some people say, you should share information on the platform where your market is. Okay, yeah, that's true. I get it. But we're not thinking like that right now. Share it on the platform that you enjoy to be on. If you consume YouTube videos the most, share it on there. If you consume LinkedIn the most, share it on there. Or if that doesn't work for you, the only other caveat is lean into your natural advantage. Are you more of a writer, or are you more of a speaker, or are you more visual? Okay. I'm always going to say video is always the best strategically when thinking about business long term. Okay. Because obviously you can chop things up at X, Y, and Z. But on the other side, you could type things and you can use that as a script, and that acts as your video. I did that for a while at the beginning of this year and everything else. That worked really well. And so you have to decide what makes sense for you. For me right now, the two platforms that are helping me in terms of my personal brand are YouTube and LinkedIn. LinkedIn is my professional platform. And when I say professional, I'm not even talking about corporate or just contracting. I'm talking about look, feel, where I share my message, whatever it may be, in succinct bites. But when thinking about YouTube, this is more turning into a thing where I can be more myself and connect with individuals who want to learn from me specifically. Not because of just my contracting knowledge or whatever it may be, but because they want to learn from me, because they see some similarities, they see some relatability, they see, okay, cool, I hear what this guy's saying. I hear him. So think to yourself where you can share information, okay? So again, I spoke about places like YouTube and LinkedIn. You may want to start thinking about an email list potentially. There's no pressure there at all. You could do. And if you are building an email list, then the stuff that you've learned from those big ass books or the YouTube video that you watched on that specific expert or whatever it may be, you can share your insights in a document, okay? I mean, it's so simple these days. All you need to do is add your notes to ChatGPT and say, ChatGPT, turn this into comprehensive notes, okay? And then add your little spin on it. If you don't want to do that, you can share the actual notes. If you don't even want to do that, you want to make sure that maybe you do a video. It doesn't really matter. Just share the information in exchange for an email. You can use something like MailerLite. I want to say that's the best sort of free platform to use at the moment if you're going to go down that road, okay? But I will say, again, social media is not safe because they could deplatform you any time. So what you want to do is deplatform your, I don't want to say followers, that's not the right word, your community, okay? It is a community, your friends, however you want to see it. I like working with people who I feel like are my friends. It's that simple. It's just easier that way. Why am I going to stress? Obviously, they're not going to take advantage because real friends don't do that. So it's all good. Like there's still a business sort of exchange. At the same time, it's a friendship. There's a win-win. Does that make sense? And so share your knowledge. Do that as regularly as possible. Okay. If you can do it daily, do it daily. If you can do it twice a day, do it twice a day. I'm not going to tell people to do a hustle culture thing. I'm not going to say you have to do this stuff, but what you're trying to do is to flex that muscle. I haven't always been consistent. I haven't. However, I have been more consistent than most over a long period of time, but that's still not enough in terms of where I want to go. But that's because I know what my sense of purpose is. If you don't know that yet, or you're just coming to that, then you have to work out what makes sense for you. So when you're first on this journey of sharing content, I don't want to use the word schedule, create a rhythm that makes sense for you. The rhythm is really important, okay? And you will realize that sticking to a rhythm, that is daily at least, that doesn't have crazy pressure, will get you more success than trying to be rigid if that's not in your nature. You can get to that. Of course, you should aim for that. I think that's an important thing. Routines are important. I say routines are more important than habits because habits feel like pressure. It takes 66 days on average to get a habit. Who cares? Like, you know what you want, so you're going to do whatever it takes. That's the mentality. So share your knowledge online. That's what you need to do. The next sort of section is integrate your interests. What do I mean by this? So let's say, for example, you're working a permanent 9 to 5. Maybe it's in the NHS, or it's for the Department of Health, or it's for Deloitte, or it's for whoever, okay? What you want to do is, if that is not where you want to stay in terms of your portfolio career, then you have to start being strategic. You have to start thinking, okay, what can I do in my current role, my current space, in order for me to start to pivot a little bit? Okay, just it can be a lot if you want, depending on the opportunity. But if you don't have much in your gift, pivot a little bit. So what does this look like? Join networks and clubs within work. Okay, so for example, my missus is the co-chair. She's practically the chair, but that's between me and you. She's the co-chair of the mental health network within NHS England. Okay, she's honing into her interests. She is also chair of other stuff within that space. So she's building her brand from behind the scenes, but that's helping her within her network. Does that make sense? So are there things you can join? Could you be on the board for stuff or supporting these different things? Another thing is maybe you want to create workspaces that satisfy your interests. So if there isn't anything to do with, let's say, for example, dyslexia or anything to do with fitness or health or whatever it may be, then maybe create that. Find out the process for doing it and get it set up at work. Maybe there's no process. Maybe you don't care about the process. Maybe you want it to be a bit more organic by nature. Maybe you want to do a lunch and learn. Do something. Does that make sense? Because your audience is there somewhere. They have to be to some degree. It doesn't always have to be online. You can do it in work initially, and you can sort of transition your learnings into that space. Maybe you can even do it within your team. Like really exercise that stuff. Maybe there is something you wanted to facilitate one time, or people you wanted to coach. Then tell people you're doing free coaching sessions at work. Start off like that. Or maybe you say, oh, I'm going to be doing some action learning sets for the team. So if you're interested, let me know. Pose it to the manager. Okay. These are things that you could do. There's so many opportunities in work, but people don't recognize it. It's not just for the young people who can, just get excited and everything else. This is also for young people listening as well, by the way. I'm not discriminating at all. But what I'm saying is there's opportunity for everyone. You just have to take it when you can. Of course, I know there's work and all this kind of stuff there, but how badly do you want it? It's a commitment. This is the phrase I've said for years, since 2015 at least. Commit to a cause. Your sense of purpose gives you that sense of cause, and the commitment is you being fueled by your burning desire, as Napoleon Hill says in Think and Grow Rich, that propels you forward. But you have to have that sense of reason why. This is why I say context is key. When you educate yourself, the more you fuel yourself, the more you share it and reciprocate sort of like feedback from that, the more likely it's going to be an indefinite sort of like cyclical drive. That's what's going to happen. Okay. So think about how you can get involved. Also, join outside clubs if you need to, whether this is a speakers club, something online. Like, it's great to meet people in person, but if you can't be bothered, like a lot of us right now, because of the pandemic that happened, then join online. It's not that deep. There are forums you can join on who uses Facebook these days? People still do, but let's say, for example, Twitter or LinkedIn, or following certain hashtags. Okay, forget all of that. Maybe you want to go on Eventbrite or Meetup. There are places where you can get involved. Whether you're starting this stuff or you're joining, you can get involved. Okay, and the last thing is, be a bit bold to start applying for this stuff. If you feel like you're at a space where actually I've got the credentials I need, and don't just wait for the credentials. Like, obviously when you're applying for some of this stuff, you have to read their criteria, but you have to be at a point where, yeah, you can apply for this stuff, but you don't have to be the picture perfect person. So apply for some of this stuff, and this stuff could be actual jobs. This could be board roles. This could be volunteer roles. If it's difficult for you to pivot into something like an NED role, so non-executive director, if you haven't watched my video on that, make sure to check it out. Or as a trustee, which is pretty much the same thing but for charities, then what you should do is volunteer for stuff. Volunteer for stuff. And the trick is to, again, create a CV, whether this is something you use for yourself or for others, that really orients your experiences in a way that shows that, yes, this person is the person I need. Okay, they have everything that I'm asking for. Okay, but again, it depends what sort of portfolio career path you're going down. So this is how you integrate your interests. Okay, obviously the section before was about sharing it, but also it's about living it as well. Okay, showing examples of this stuff. Now, the next section, this is the second last section, just so you know, is to boost your personal brand. The personal brand is the most important thing right now. Like, your personal brand is everything. And fortunately or unfortunately, depending on what side of the coin you are, your personal brand is dependent upon what you do online, or what you have online, how you are received online. Of course, that isn't true. That isn't purely true, because you can develop a strong personal brand outside of the online space. 100% agree with that, especially if you're more of a behind the scenes person. But doesn't it make sense to do both? Why not? It doesn't mean you have to be extroverted online and start, you're bouncing around and everything because you got so much energy. No one's telling you to do that. What we are saying, though, I say we, but me, what I am saying is that, come on, man, there's an etiquette to this. You have to give yourself a chance. Are you giving yourself a fighting chance when it comes to developing your personal brand? What do I mean? There is, I want to say I've done an article on this, so I'm going to see if I can, find this. But essentially, you want to make sure that you have some sense of strong authenticity. That's what you need. You need a sense of strong authenticity. People need to be able to see and sense that you are who you say you are. And when you are educating people on, different stuff, whatever it may be, then essentially, like, they're seeing the real you. That's what they're seeing. They're not seeing anything else or all that kind of jazz. They're seeing the real you. So think about all of that stuff that I spoke about before in terms of a sense of purpose, and then really come down to, how do I sort of like portray this online? So let me just share my screen very quickly. So this is something I wrote years ago. Okay, so marketing research process for personal brands. This is not it. This is something else. But essentially, if you go onto michaeltabradi.com, you can see there's a whole bunch of stuff that I've got when it comes to personal brands and everything else. Okay, I want to say it's this one here. That's it. So, how to develop your personal brand. I talk about these C's that I got from an event that I went to, and then again, clear message. Talk about that clearly. Consistent identity. I really love this. Congruent set of content. That's annoying. The picture's not there. And also credibility as well. So these 4 things, okay, these 4 solid things. Again, you can check this out. My website's got a lot of this kind of stuff on there, okay? There's a lot of random stuff, but there's a lot of good stuff as well. It's michaeltabradi.com. You can read this and get a really good sense of how you can develop your personal brand. And as you can clearly see, it's these 4 things here. These are the 4 things. Clear message, consistent identity, congruent set of content, and credibility. This is why I said you need to develop that content. This is why I said you need to get some level of skill development. This is why you have to look at your clear sense of purpose by answering all of those questions before. This is why I said you need to commit to a cause. So there's consistency in the portrayal that you're giving people. It is very, very important. So this is how you start to develop your brand. So hopefully that is very, very clear when it comes to sort of like moving forward this. Look, you may be tempted, and I want you to come back and be focused again. Like, I want to say this again and again and again. You may feel like, oh, I need to do all this research and You could do that, but you can actually start now. Some of you have already started and you're thinking, what is the answer? If you're trying to make money or whatever it may be, it really comes down to the niche, the market, and how believable you are. The point being made is, if you haven't posted solidly, consistently over an X period of time, let's say, for example, it's 90 days or 120 days. This could be daily or weekly, depending on the type of content you're producing. How do you know that it's working? How do you know? You need to give yourself a fighting chance. You have to. And so I call it intelligent consistency as opposed to just blind consistency. Anyone can be consistent. But intelligent consistency is looking at your results on a weekly basis or a monthly basis, depending on the nature of your, depthness that you like to have, and assess, is this working or not? You assess it very simply through things like, views, engagement, shares, comments, all of this kind of stuff there. And even if you don't get that stuff, you get inquiries, which I'm coming onto in a second. Sometimes don't just believe in the fact that social metrics are the reason hence why you you get success. That's not necessarily true. It's more views, it's more impressions, should I say. It's a numbers game at the end of the day. So for example, things like LinkedIn, maybe not LinkedIn, let's use Instagram. Things like Instagram, let's say for a picture, may not necessarily give you an idea in terms of impressions unless you go into the analytics. But I'm just talking about the app. It may not show the impressions, i.e. the amount of people that have seen your picture but just scrolled or looked at it. You don't know the quality of that measure, but it will tell you things like likes and comments and stuff. But what if 1 million people have seen it and not liked it once? Okay, that would be a bit weird. But the point being made is people still get inquiries through those a million impressions, through DMs or messages or whatever it may be. So don't get blinded by engagement purely. Don't give up based on that instance. I want to make that clear. So yeah, you want to make sure that your brand is authentic and everything else. In addition, you want to be able to speak online and on stage. So think about opportunities, talk to different people, message people. Maybe you don't want to do all of that stuff. You want to stick to attraction marketing. So your content has to be good where people are inviting you in to speak into their space. Maybe you want to start on podcasts. That's a great way to sort of like share your expertise. And maybe you want to say this in your content. Look, if you're looking for a speaker, I'm happy to speak. Maybe you post that every so often, like every month or something like that, just so people are reintroduced to you and the opportunities that you're open for. You also want to be able to apply for different sort of like projects and stuff. So for example, things related to your causes, sustainability projects. Again, you can be on the boards of stuff. You can be part of the advisory board of different things. There are so many opportunities and stuff that you can get involved with. You also want to make sure that you create a content machine. Are you doing this thing? Okay, so there's a lot of people going around, such as Dan Coe, Justin Welsh. Obviously, there was Gary Vee. Back in the day, for me, it was more, what's his name? Stefan James, Project Life Mastery. There's also the Malaysian guy as well. I've forgotten his name. All of this, people talk about this content multiplier or creating content or whatever it may be. There's so many different ways you can do it. You can do it in a way where you absorb your ideas from loads of different sources. I suggest that you go based on the sources that I was suggesting before that works for you, okay, in terms of assimilating content. And then writing down your ideas and either, number one, creating a script that is essentially your article and newsletter, and then using that script as for your video. Or two, you can start off with video and then transcribe it and then turn that into a article if you want to. Or you can just do the video, or you can just do the article, or you can just do it on social media. There's no rule. You just have to do what works for you. There's no real rule. You just have to think about what you're aiming to achieve and navigate that way. So whether you just do it on social media, whether you do it on your website, whether you do it on video or podcast or all of those things, just think practically, how am I going to do this given the time that I have? How am I going to do this given the energy I have? How am I going to do this given the family or people around me that I have? It's a lot to consider, okay? A lot to consider. Next thing is, you also want to make sure that you have a professional picture. Like I said before, if you don't, you can literally just take a picture, click, then put it on Canva, remove the background. If you got Canva Pro, go to removebackground.bg and then put it onto Canva and just have a white background. Boom. That's it. Sometimes people are doing this whole yellow thing as well because it stands out, but that depends on where you are. You decide what you want to do. Okay, keep it professional, keep it snappy. The reason I'm speaking fast is because I need to jump off in a second. And I've been speaking for almost an hour, which is impressive. Anywho, the last thing I'd say is, I would create some sort of offer, okay? And this could be simple coaching and mentoring, okay? So if you want to set up a coaching offer or whatever it may be, it's very, very simple. All you need to do, these are the two things that you need to do, okay? So let me just share my screen so you can see it. Let me go here and share my screen. So number one, what you want to do is go to Stripe, okay? Stripe is a payment platform and you want to set up a Stripe account. I'm not going to show you how to do it. You can go on to Google and check out how you can do that, and you can create a checkout for that. And or you can also set up a Calendly, okay? Calendly, okay? So if you go to Calendly and you can click on this, you can set up a free account. These are free accounts. There's no excuses. And then LinkedIn can be your landing page. We're on a featured section. Let's go to LinkedIn. Let's go to my thing. You can put in the link for these things where people can actually sort of like check your stuff out, okay? You can also create something like a link tree if you want people to see different sort of like stuff. So link tree, and I'm talking about the bare basics. I'm not talking about an elaborate website or anything like that. I'm talking about basic and free, because some people don't want to do stuff because they need to pay for stuff. Okay. I'm trying to take out the excuses. If you really wanted to do stuff for free, you can use something like, I think it's called Google Websites, where you can create websites for free, but you just have to pay for the domain name. So whatever it is, offer some sort of mentoring and coaching around your specific niche, okay? And then that way, see if people are interested, and say to people, hey, look, if you want to, learn more about X, Y, and Z, feel free to, jump on my free courtesy call, or jump on my discovery call, or have a conversation with me, or have a coffee with me, whatever it may be. So whatever works, just set up something very simple to do. You can check out my LinkedIn and see how that works for you. And lastly, the ultimate aim is to productize your knowledge in some way, shape, or form. You have to see what makes sense for you. You can create an event to invite people. It could be a free event or a cheap event initially on your chosen topic. Break it down. So you've got introduction, then you've got key points, and then you expand on those points, and then you can offer coaching at the end, or not offer anything at the end. Just get some feedback from people to see how it went. Record that event, and then you can put it behind the paywall. Again, you can use Stripe to do this, and you can have them as unlisted videos if you want on YouTube initially, or you can have them in a private Dropbox, sort of account, or you can use, something paid if you want to be a bit more professional. You can even use Facebook, okay? Facebook have I think it's called learning or education sort of like page module, which allows you to organize things a certain way. But the point being made is you can put it behind the paywall and charge for it. This is what you can do, okay? This is the point, so that you create leverage eventually. Don't rush to this point. If you want to, that's up to you, but you don't have to rush to this point. Create the drive, and this is how you create your portfolio career. So really, to go through the points again, you need to have a sense of purpose. So do those exercises I spoke about before. Dive deep into your interest. Be curious, okay? It's very important to be curious. You want to sharpen your skills, okay? It's very important to sharpen them so that you have that level of sense of confidence, or whatever it may be. Share your knowledge online, okay? And offline as well. I should have put offline as well. Integrate your interests. So apply for stuff, start new courses, start new clubs, all of that kind of stuff there. Boost your personal brand, get the basics right, speak authentically, connect with the right people, and productize your knowledge. If this has been useful to you, okay, if this is something that you think, other people need to hear, share it with other people. Share it with them. Get them to this video and get them to like, comment, subscribe if they want to, and share it with others. But remember, you have it within you. And in order for you to, jump on this whole portfolio career bandwagon, you need to create it, not pursue it, create it. Again, if you want to check out the life navigation system that I spoke about before, click on the link below. If you want to see more videos like this, let me know what you want to see. Put it in the comments below. And again, for more videos like this, don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell. And as always, my friends, understand, reach, and expand. Peace.